Hello everyone, welcome back to C.A.R. Entertainment. I'm your host Don Hamilton, guys, and yes, today we're going to be talking about more HU1 biology, guys. Yeah, we're near the end of the spec, don't be worried. It has been long for HU1 since we started, but we're getting towards the end of it, and yeah, I know we're going to do HU2 as well, so it is quite long, but that's just biology for you. But yeah, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about feeding and pyramidal relationships, or pyramidal, however you want to pronounce it. Let's get into it. So, starting off with feeding relationships, you need to know a little bit about energy. So, energy such as heat energy, that should say, heat, light, chemical potential, and kinetic energy are interconverted. And energy is never created, destroyed, or used up. Instead, energy will be lost, such as through heat radiation, and this is out into space. The total amount of energy on Earth will always remain constant because of feeding, and feeding involves the transfer of energy. So let's talk about that then. How is feeding done? Well, it's done through food chains and food webs. A food chain is a sequence of organisms that each take it in turn of being the food source for the next. So, for example, producers, which is a form of trophic level, will provide food to the primary consumer and then the secondary consumer, and so on. You'll have this thing called a detritus food chain, which starts with dead organic matter, and these are fed on by detritivores and decomposers. You then move on to more complex things called the food web, and this is where organisms will feed on several types of organisms, and these are fed on by more than one type. Essentially, it's just multiple food chains put into one. There's a trophic level, we've talked about that there, and the trophic level is when an organism occupying its own feeding position, such as a producer, which is not a trophic plant that produces food for photosynthesis. You also then have your different types of consumers. So primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers are all different trophic levels. The primary consumers will feed in the producers, secondary consumers will feed in the primary consumers, and you guessed it, the tertiary consumers will feed in the secondary consumers. You then have your decomposers, which consist of decomposers, and detritivores, which feed in accumulated debris of dead organic matter. Food chains will only have a maximum of 4 links because not all the energy is available to the next trophic level. Different pyramidal relationships then. The first one you know about is a pyramid of numbers, but first, what does a pyramid relationship show? Well, an ecological pyramid or a pyramidal relationship shows a quantitative relationship. The first one, a pyramid of numbers, represents the total number of organisms at each trophic level, and the data for constructing is readily obtained, and this is because you count the organisms in each trophic level. The disadvantages of a pyramid of numbers is that it's difficult to determine what represents a single individual, and it doesn't take into account the size of an organism. You then can use a pyramid of biomass if you wish instead, which represents the total biomass of the organisms. This is done by having data obtained through weighing the dry mass, and this requires more effort than a pyramid of numbers, but it is more representative of the material. The information will represent what is present at one time and not what is being produced over time, but it can have inverted pyramids just like the pyramid of numbers. Instead though, you can go with a pyramid of productivity, and this represents the energy value of all new material. And this is difficult to obtain the data because the instruments need to be made over time. You can compare the rate which organisms produce material, and it's always meaningful and it always produces a meaningful pyramid relationship, and they're always going to be pyramidal. It is quite complicated to do one, and therefore most people do a pyramid of numbers or a pyramid of biomass, but the pyramid of productivity is the best one to do. Thanks for watching this video. I've been Don Hamilton from C.A.R. Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.